Alright, so in today's lesson we want to revise two things. The first is multiplying a bracket by a single term. I'll give you an example of that. So that would be, say, within my bracket having, say, 2x plus 4, and multiplying that outside by one single term, so I could write maybe 6. And also the second thing we'd like to look at today is multiplying pairs of brackets. So if I was given, say, 3x plus 4 multiplied by 2x minus 1. Alright, so they're the two things we're going to look at. If I gave you this square here and I asked you to calculate the perimeter, there's probably a few different ways you would do it, but one of them would be to, say, add up all the numbers. So I've got a 5, a 3, a 5 and a 3. So if I was to add them up, okay, I would get 16 centimeters or 16 units, depending on what we were dealing with. Other people might actually spot that there's 2 5s and 2 3s, so they might write it down like this: 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3. And other people might spot that there are 2 5s and 2 3s and use multiplication. So 2 times 5 plus 2 times 3. Okay. Another way of, I suppose, writing this here is I have 2 sets of 5 and 2 sets of 3. So our commutative laws and our distributive laws will come into effect here. And what I could essentially say is this is the same as writing 2 times 5 plus 3. And I could simplify that one down a little bit further, and I could have 2 times 8, which would give me 16. So you can see that there are a lot of different ways of finding the perimeter and different ways of writing down how you found the perimeter of this rectangle. Okay, so we're going to first of all start off with this question here, number 1, and it is 2 bracket d plus 4. And how am I going to work that out? Well, I'm going to use little arrows to help me, but 2 bracket d plus 4 basically means 2 times d, which gives me 2d. And then I'm going to multiply the second part of that, which is 2 times 4. So 2 multiplied by 4, and that will give me plus 8. Alright, so that's number 1 done for us. Just draw a line here. Number 2 is 4 bracket q minus 5. And again, I'm going to use my lines here. And 4 times q gives me 4q. And now I must be careful here. So I have a plus by a minus, and a plus by a minus will give me a minus. And then I have 4 times 5, which will give me 20. Okay, so be careful with your signs. And then the third one here, I have 4 bracket 4t plus 2. So again, it's 4 multiplied by 4t, and that will give me 16t. And then I have a plus by a plus, so it will be plus. And this last part is 4 by the second term, which is 4 times 2, which will give me 8. Alright, so different ways of working out a single term against a bracket. If I asked you to find the perimeter of this shape, you would first of all notice that we have 2 x's here. And so when we have an unknown, we refer to this as an expression. Okay, so if you're asked for an expression, that will contain an unknown. So we could write this down as add the x and the 3 and the x and the 3, as I did in step 1 earlier on. Or we could write it down using brackets, and that's what I'd like to do here. So we start off, we have a 3 plus a 3 plus an x plus an x. And what that means is I have 2 times 3. And here I have x plus x, which will give me 2x. So I have 2 times x. And then if I was to bring these two together, I would say I have 2 times 3 plus x. All right, so again, different ways of writing the same expression. All right, so you can see here in this example that you have definitely upped the game a little bit, because you now have 2 expressions here multiplied by 2 expressions here, okay? And what that means is, it means we're going to have to employ a different method to solving this rather than the multiplying out the brackets. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use the area method. Okay, and it's definitely very similar to the box multiplication that you would have done in first year. So let's have a look at it. All right, so we have 3x minus 2 multiplied by 2x minus 5. And what I can do here is I can use the area method to solve this. And what I do is I lay it out as I have done here. And I've got 3x minus 2 placed on top here. So I'll write top here. And then I also have 2x minus 5 placed on the side. All right, so I'll just write side here so that we know where that goes. Okay, and I'm now going to do the box multiplication. So essentially what I was doing back in first year. And how I do that is I multiply this term by this term to fill in this box here. So we have 2x times 3x, or 2x multiplied by 3x, and that will give me 6x squared Then we will move on to this section here of the box, and this will come from multiplying these 2 answers. And it's minus 5 times 3x, a plus by a minus will give me a minus, and 5 times 3x will give me minus 15x. And then I move on to this last section here of the box, which comes from multiplying the minus 5 by the minus 2. A minus by a minus will give me a plus, and 5 2s are 10. So I'm going to write out then the answer that I've received here. So it is 6x squared minus 4x. So I've just gone from here to here, and I'm going to write down these 2 as well. Minus 15x plus 10. Now we're not finished, because what we do now is we gather any like terms that we might have and simplify. Okay, so if I look here, I've got 6x squared. That's the highest power here. There's nothing else that matches that or is the same as that, so that remains on its own. So I just have 6x squared. Next I have minus 4x and I have minus 15x. So they actually are in the same terms essentially, so I can add or subtract these. So I'm going to look at this. So minus 4x minus 15x, well that will give me minus 19x. And then the last thing I'm left with is 10, and there is nothing else I can add to that. 10 is a number on its own, that's the constant, so plus 10. And that is your answer. So when you are asked to multiply 2 brackets back to back, one of the methods you can use is you can use this area method. So where you write the top one here, and the second one you can write that on the side. You use your box multiplication to fill in your different boxes. You write out your expression here, and then you gather your like terms. So anywhere you can simplify it a little bit. And so our answer to this question is 6x squared minus 19x plus 10. All right, so what we've looked at today is we've looked at 2 methods for working out back-to-back brackets. And the first is the FOIL method. And the second way, so that's what I would have learned in school, and the second way is the area method, and that's probably a newer method. So whichever one that you felt like you could understand better, I want you to try the following questions, please, and we'll have a look at them in class tomorrow.